Have you ever wondered how something so vast, powerful, and legendary simply vanished? Imagine an empire stretching from the sands of Egypt to the cold cliffs of Britain. An empire that built roads still used today, cities still inhabited, and laws still influencing our world. For over 5 centuries, Rome was the heartbeat of civilization, and yet it fell. So how does a superpower like that come crashing down? To answer that, we need to rewind, not to the fall, but to the rise. Because Rome didn't begin as an empire. It began as a republic, a daring political experiment where power was shared, where citizens had a voice, and where ambition was meant to be kept in check. But ambition doesn't like being caged. Enter Julius Caesar. A brilliant general and master of public favour, Caesar weren't content with power. He wanted total control. His military victories made him a hero, but they also made the Senate nervous. Fearing he'd crown himself king, they did the unthinkable. They killed him, brutally, in public. The result? Chaos. Civil war erupted. In the ashes of the Republic, Caesar's adopted son, Octavian, rose. Cunning and cold, he outplayed his rivals, took absolute power, and renamed himself Augustus, the first emperor of Rome. The Republic was dead, and the empire was born. For the next 2 centuries, Rome thrived under a string of emperors, some wise, others wicked, all wielding unimaginable power. The empire grew across Europe, Asia, and Africa. Trade flourished. Roads connected cities like veins through a living body. Roman law and culture spread like wildfire. This period became known as the Pax Romana, the Roman peace. And for a while it worked. But beneath the marble surface, cracks began to form. Religion, for one, was shifting. Rome's traditional gods, Jupiter, Mars, Venus, were woven into everyday life. Temples stood tall, ceremonies were grand. But in the shadows, a new belief was spreading. Christianity, born from a Jewish preacher named Jesus, the faith promised eternal life, compassion, and hope. It appealed to the poor and the oppressed, those forgotten by the empire. At first, Christians were persecuted, blamed for disasters, and driven underground. But belief is stubborn. It grew, and with every execution, more people joined. Eventually, even emperors would embrace it, but that change would come with consequences. Then came a turning point. In 180 CE, Emperor Marcus Aurelius died, the last of the so-called 5 good emperors. His son Commodus took the throne, and Rome began to unravel. Commodus was everything his father wasn't. Vain, erratic, obsessed with gladiators and self-glory. He fought in the arena himself, declaring he was Hercules reborn. Rome became his personal playground. After 12 years of chaos, he was assassinated. But the damage was done. What followed was a nightmare. Civil wars, rapid successions, and instability. In 193 CE alone, 5 different men claimed the title of emperor. Bribes, betrayals, and assassinations became the norm. The once orderly empire turned into a violent scramble for power. As Rome's leaders fought each other, the provinces began to drift. In Gaul, a breakaway state formed. In the east, Queen Zenobia carved out her own empire from Roman lands. Borders blurred, loyalty wavered. And for the first time in centuries, the idea of a united Rome seemed fragile. The empire was splitting, not just politically, but culturally, economically, and spiritually. And although strong leaders would rise again to hold it together, the Golden Age was long gone. But Rome's troubles were far from over. After Diocletian's reforms and Constantine's rise, it looked like the empire had found new life. Christianity had gone from a persecuted cult to a powerful institution. Constantinople was growing, and the Roman army once again marched with confidence. But behind the scenes, dangerous cracks were forming. When Constantine died, his empire was divided among his sons, a decision that, once again, planted the seeds of civil war. Infighting returned. Power was passed not through merit, but bloodlines and betrayal. The empire became a stage for power-hungry generals and fragile alliances. Meanwhile, trouble was brewing beyond the borders. The Huns, fierce nomads from the steppes of Central Asia, stormed westward, forcing entire tribes like the Visigoths and Vandals to seek refuge inside the Roman Empire. The Romans let them in, but instead of treating them with dignity, they exploited them, taxed them, abused them, starved them. What followed was inevitable. In 378 CE, at the Battle of Adrianople, the Goths revolted and crushed a Roman army, killing Emperor Valens in the process. For the first time in centuries, a Roman emperor died in battle. The message was clear. Rome was vulnerable. More and more tribes crossed into Roman lands, sometimes invited, sometimes not. And Rome, once a mighty predator, became the prey. The empire was simply too big, too slow, and too divided to fight them off. In 410 CE, the impossible happened. Rome was sacked by the Visigoths under Alaric. The Eternal City, once the beating heart of the empire, was plundered by foreign invaders. For the Roman people, it was a psychological earthquake. If Rome itself could fall, what was safe? Still, the empire limped on. Emperors came and went, most of them puppets controlled by generals or barbarian warlords. The Western Empire shrank further. Britain was abandoned. Spain was lost. North Africa fell into Vandals' hands. By the mid-5th century, Western Rome was a shadow of its former self. Its army was made up of mercenaries who had little loyalty to Rome. Its economy had collapsed. Its people had lost faith in their leaders. Then, in 476 CE, the end came quietly. A boy emperor, Romulus Augustulus, was deposed by a Germanic general named Odoacer. No grand battle, no dramatic speech, just a letter sent to the Eastern Emperor, saying Rome no longer needed a Western emperor. And just like that, the Western Roman Empire was gone. But the story doesn't end there. The eastern half of the empire, known as the Byzantine Empire, survived for another 1,000 years. From its capital in Constantinople, it preserved much of Rome's culture, law and legacy. Even more influential was what Rome left behind: its roads, aqueducts and architecture. Its legal systems and political ideas. Its languages are still spoken in forms like Italian, French, Spanish, and even English, which owes much of its vocabulary to Latin. And perhaps most lasting of all, the rise of the Roman Catholic Church, which filled the power vacuum left behind and would shape Europe for centuries. Rome may have fallen, but its influence never truly disappeared. If you found this story fascinating, make sure to subscribe for more deep dives into the rise and fall of history's greatest empires. And if you want to bring a piece of history into your home, check out our hand-designed Colosseum poster. A stunning tribute to Rome's architectural genius is now available on our website. Link in the description. Thanks for watching. And remember, even the mightiest empires can crumble,